I thought I was doing the right thing by supporting my sister at her graduation. But when I showed up, she humiliated me in front of everyone. The hurt, the betrayal, it cut deeper than anything she'd ever done before. She never expected that her actions would spark a chain of events that would change everything. My name is Sonia, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the one behind the scenes, supporting my sister. Growing up, we had a rocky relationship, but I always did my best to be there for her. Even when she didn't ask for it, she was the golden child in our family, and I was the one who quietly made sure her life went smoothly, managing the little details that kept everything on track. So when she graduated, I thought it was only right to show up and support her, just like I always had. But when I walked into the ceremony, something felt off. The air was thick with tension, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why. Sure, she'd always been the center of attention, but today felt different. The usual pride I felt for her was there, but it was drowned out by an unease I couldn't shake. As she stood on the stage, I watched her, trying to smile through the discomfort. She looked poised, as always, but there was something about the way she held herself, the way she glanced over at me, that made me uncomfortable. It was like she was hiding something, like she was about to say something that would change everything. Then the moment came for her to give her speech. She glanced over at me, her eyes briefly locking with mine. I gave her a small smile, trying to be supportive, even though something in the pit of my stomach told me this wasn't going to be a moment I'd want to remember. She started speaking, and for the first few seconds, everything seemed normal, but then, she said it. She said the words I would never be able to forget. I want to thank the people who truly supported me through this journey. Not everyone has the ability to put their own dreams aside to help others. Her gaze was fixed on me as she said it. The words hit me like a ton of bricks, and my stomach dropped. The entire room fell silent for a split second, but it felt like an eternity. I knew in that instant what she was doing. She was throwing me under the bus, using me as an example of how not to live your life. And it wasn't just a random remark. She had crafted that moment, calculating exactly how it would play out. I could feel the eyes of everyone in the room shift from her to me, the weight of their gaze pressing down on me. I wanted to shrink away, to disappear, but I couldn't. My body froze, my mind reeling. It felt like the floor had dropped out from beneath me. I had spent years putting her first, making sure everything in her life was perfect, and now she was using that very thing to humiliate me in front of everyone. That's not what I meant, she added quickly, as if trying to backpedal. But the damage had already been done. The smirk that played on her lips was a mix of superiority and amusement. She wasn't sorry, not really. She was trying to paint me as the one who had sacrificed everything, while she had always been the one deserving of admiration. I felt my chest tighten, my throat burning with emotion. I tried to hold it together, but the sting of her words was too much. The humiliation washed over me like a tidal wave, and all I wanted was for the ground to swallow me whole. I could hear the whispers starting, the murmurs among the audience. Some of them were shocked, others unsure how to react, but all I could focus on was her. She stood there, smiling, basking in the attention, and I couldn't help but feel like a fool. It wasn't just about the words she said, it was everything. The way she'd casually thrown me under the bus to make herself look better. The way she had used the sacrifices I made for her as a punchline in her speech. It was like I wasn't even a person to her, just someone who existed to make her life easier, someone to use when it was convenient. The emotional fallout hit me instantly. I could feel the anger building, but I pushed it down, not wanting to make a scene. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was making me the villain, while she played the victim, the one who had been misunderstood. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I wasn't going to let her use me to prop up her own image. I glanced around at the audience, and for the first time, I realized how alone I was. My family, they were sitting there, watching it unfold, as if nothing was wrong. My heart ached. This wasn't just about a speech. This was about years of me being invisible to everyone, a backdrop to her life. It was about all the times I had put her needs before mine, hoping for a thank you that never came. And now, this was her way of repaying me. I could feel the tears stinging my eyes, but I blinked them back. I wasn't going to let her see me break. Not today, not here. I had been her support system for so long, but today, I realized I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep letting her walk all over me. The humiliation still burned, but something in me shifted. I didn't have to stand here and let her make me the bad guy. I didn't have to stay in her shadow anymore. As I walked out of the ceremony hall, the sound of her voice trailing behind me, I made a vow to myself. This was the last time I would let her tear me down. This was the last time I would let her use me as a stepping stone. I was done. I thought I'd feel better after I walked out of the ceremony. I thought I'd feel empowered, like I was finally standing up for myself. But as I sat in my car, the cold silence surrounding me, the reality hit harder than I expected. I felt so small. I had spent my whole life being the supportive sister, always putting her first, always making sure she was happy, but today, she made it clear that all those years didn't matter, all the sacrifices I made, all the times I stepped aside for her, none of it mattered. She had humiliated me in front of everyone, and for what? To make herself feel superior. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly I could feel my knuckles turning white. I wanted to cry, but I wouldn't. Not in front of her, not in front of anyone. I thought about calling someone, maybe a friend or even my mom, but I knew they wouldn't understand. They'd probably tell me I was overreacting, that it was just a slip of the tongue, but I knew the truth. She didn't slip up. She meant every word. She had calculated that moment, carefully choosing to throw me under the bus to make herself look good. As I drove home, I replayed everything in my mind, her smug smile, the way she glanced at me, the way the whole room had gone silent when she spoke. I had tried to ignore it, to tell myself that it didn't matter, that I shouldn't care. But I did care, more than I wanted to admit. When I got home, I collapsed onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. I couldn't believe how much it hurt. She was my sister. We were supposed to be there for each other. But instead, she treated me like I was nothing. I tried calling her again, my fingers shaking as I dialed her number. This time, I wasn't going to let it go. This time, I was going to tell her exactly how I felt. But as the phone rang, I hesitated. What if she didn't even care? What if she just brushed me off again? She answered on the third ring. Hey, she said casually, like nothing had happened. What's up? I couldn't hold it in any longer. Why did you do that? My voice cracked and I hated how weak I sounded. Do what? She asked, her tone still light. At the ceremony, I said, struggling to keep my composure. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You knew exactly what you were doing. She let out a little laugh. Oh, come on, it wasn't that bad. I was just speaking the truth. The words hit me like a slap. The truth, the truth. You made me the bad guy in front of all those people. You made it sound like I was nothing but a doormat for you. There was a pause. Then she sighed. I didn't mean it like that, okay? It was just, I don't know, I was emotional. I was nervous. No, I said, cutting her off. You meant it. You've always meant it. You've always seen me as the one who's there to pick up the pieces when you need something. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not your backup plan. She stayed quiet for a moment, and I could hear her shift on the other end. Sonia, don't be like this. You know I appreciate everything you've done for me. I didn't let her finish. No, you don't appreciate anything. You've used me for years. And now you think you can just humiliate me and expect me to come running back to fix your problems. There was a long pause before she spoke again. So what? You're just going to walk away from me now, after everything we've been through? I took a deep breath, the hurt and anger mixing together. Yeah, maybe I am. Maybe it's time I start living for myself instead of you. I've spent so much time trying to make your life perfect, trying to make sure you had everything you wanted. But you know what? I'm done. I'm done being the one who always has to clean up your mess. Her voice cracked. Sonia, please, don't say that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I don't know why I said what I said. I know why you said it, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. Because you're so used to everyone bending over backwards for you, that you didn't even think twice about how it would affect me. I could feel the weight of the conversation settling in, the realization that I wasn't going to get the apology I had always wanted from her. I wasn't going to get the recognition, the validation. This was it. This was the point where I finally stood up for myself. You know what? I said, my voice now steady. I don't need your apology. I need space. I need to figure out what's best for me, and right now, that means not dealing with you and your selfishness. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Goodbye. Sister's name, I said, my voice firm. I'm done. I hung up before she could respond, the weight of the call sinking in. I had done it. I had finally stood up for myself. I wasn't going to let her use me anymore. I wasn't going to let her tear me down. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. I wasn't the one trying to please everyone anymore. I wasn't the one who had to sacrifice myself for someone else's happiness, and I wasn't going to let her break me again. Days passed in a blur. I tried to focus on my own life, my own goals, but the sting of what had happened kept creeping back into my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I could still see her face, her smirk, the way she so casually humiliated me in front of everyone. It felt like a wound that wouldn't heal, no matter how much time passed. The silence between my sister and me was deafening. I hadn't heard from her since the phone call. And to be honest, I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to hear from her again. But deep down, I still wanted to know if she even understood what she had done. If she even cared. Was I just a casualty in her quest for attention? Or did she truly not realize how much her words had hurt? I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept telling myself I was stronger than this, that I didn't need her validation, but it was hard to shake off the feeling of being rejected by my own sister my whole life. I had been there for her through everything, and this was how she repaid me, with a cruel jab during what should have been a moment of joy. But I wasn't going to let her keep me down. I couldn't. If I did, I would never move on. That's when I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I reached out to her. I stared at my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. My heart was pounding in my chest. What was I hoping for? An apology, a sign that she cared? Or was I just looking for closure? Something to put this all to rest? I took a deep breath, then typed out the message. I can't keep pretending that everything's fine between us. I need to know if you really see me. If you understand how much your words hurt. Because right now, I don't think you do. It felt like a punch to the gut. Typing those words, I knew it might not change anything. She might just brush it off. Or worse, she might ignore me altogether. But I had to know. I had to give myself that chance. I sent the message and sat back, staring at the screen as the minutes ticked by. My hands were shaking, my heart racing. What was I even expecting from her, after everything? Did I really think she would acknowledge the hurt she caused? Then, the phone buzzed. I almost didn't want to look, but I did. Her reply came quickly, as though she had been waiting for me to reach out. Sonia, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I honestly didn't think it would come across like that. I know I've been selfish, and I know I've hurt you. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I'm really sorry. Her words felt empty, and I hated myself for hoping they would be more. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that she had learned something, that she truly understood how much she had hurt me. But the truth was, I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. I've spent so many years trying to make you proud, trying to support you. I typed back. But today I realized something. I've been putting you first for so long that I forgot about myself. I can't keep doing that. I can't keep being the one who sacrifices everything just to make you happy. I waited for a response, my hands tight around the phone. I wasn't sure what I was hoping for, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. You're right, she replied, and for the first time, I saw something in her words I hadn't expected. I've been selfish. I've always been selfish. I'm sorry for how I treated you, and I don't know if you can ever forgive me, but I want to try. Sonia, I want to make things right. I read the message over and over, trying to make sense of it. For a brief moment, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe she was finally seeing me. Maybe she was realizing how much she had taken me for granted. But I wasn't going to let that hope blind me. I had been down this road before, and I knew better than to expect too much. I don't know if I can forgive you yet. I typed, my fingers slow. But I need time. Time to heal, time to figure out if I can ever trust you again. The message sent. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had the control. I had stood up for myself. I had told her how I felt, and I wasn't waiting around for her to validate me anymore. I wasn't going to keep putting my happiness on hold, hoping she would change. As I put my phone down and stared at the ceiling, I realized something. This wasn't just about my sister. This was about me. I was finally taking back control of my life. And even if it meant walking away from the people I thought I needed most, I knew I had to do it. It's strange how silence can be so loud. I hadn't heard from my sister since our conversation. The message I sent her lingered between us, like an invisible wall. I wasn't sure what to expect after that, but part of me still hoped for some kind of breakthrough. Days turned into weeks, and still nothing. I kept telling myself I was fine, that I didn't need her apology, that I didn't need anyone to validate me, but the truth was, it hurt. It hurt not because I was still dependent on her, but because I thought she would understand. I thought, maybe, just maybe, she would finally see the damage she'd caused over the years. I focused on my own life. I poured myself into work, took up hobbies I had long ignored, and spent every second I could with people who valued me. But even then, a part of me couldn't shake the feeling of being abandoned. I had spent my entire life putting her first, but now, I had to put myself first. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Then, just when I was starting to think I could live without her, I received another message. I had almost forgotten about her. Almost. Sonia, I need to talk to you. I stared at the screen, unsure of what to feel. There was no apology, no warm greeting, just the cold words that dragged me back to that place I swore I would leave behind. Part of me wanted to ignore it. I had told myself I was done with this cycle, but curiosity, and maybe something else, got the better of me. I opened the message. I know you're probably not ready to hear from me, but I've had time to think. I want to make things right between us. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I can't go on like this anymore. I miss you. I sat there, reading the words over and over. I felt nothing, yet everything at once. I knew it was coming, knew that after all this time, she would reach out again. But this wasn't the apology I wanted. This wasn't the clarity I needed. It was just another attempt to draw me back in, to make me feel guilty for cutting her off. I felt a surge of anger and something else, relief that I had stayed strong. I had kept my boundaries, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one falling apart at her feet. I typed out a response, my fingers flying over the keyboard. I don't need you to miss me, I need you to see me, to understand how much your words and actions have hurt me. I don't need to go back to the way things were. I'm done letting you make me feel small. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, but I'm not going to let you manipulate me anymore. I'm choosing me. The words felt like a weight lifted off my chest. I hit send, my heart pounding in my chest. It was a moment of empowerment, one I never thought I'd experience. For once, I wasn't afraid of the consequences. I had given her everything for so long, but I wasn't doing it anymore. The silence stretched out again, but this time, it was different. I wasn't waiting for her to fix things. I wasn't hoping she would suddenly come around. I was finally okay on my own, without her. Then, a few days later, I received a response. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't anything close to what I expected, but what it was something I had been waiting for. You're right. I've been selfish, and I'm sorry. I've always taken you for granted. I don't expect you to forgive me right now, but I want you to know that I see you now. I see what I've done. It wasn't the perfect apology, and it wasn't enough to fix everything, but it was a start. It was the first time in our lives that she had truly acknowledged what she had done. Without trying to justify it, I didn't know what would come next. But I finally felt like I could breathe. I sat back, my phone still in my hand. It wasn't about reconciliation. It wasn't about going back to what we had. It was about understanding, about realizing that sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones who can hurt us the deepest, and sometimes, we have to choose ourselves. As I looked out the window, the sun setting on the horizon, I realized that I had won, not because I had gotten an apology, but because I had stood up for myself. I had walked away from a toxic relationship that had been holding me hostage for years, and for the first time, I felt truly free.